Hello everyone, my name is Sarah. In this video today I'm going to introduce myself, so let's begin. To begin with my work, currently I am a university professor in central China. I teach English, perhaps unsurprisingly. I've only been in China for a few months. Before this I lived in South Korea for 3 years where I also taught English, and I worked with many different age groups from very young to very old. And before that, I co-taught with a program called City Year at a high school in Philadelphia. As far as my hobbies, I really enjoy reading. I like to cook, love to travel, and I love watching Netflix. As far as my family background and history, let's see, family history. Well, I have 3 brothers. I have 1 brother and 2 half-brothers. Most of my family lives in upstate New York, though my mother lives in North Carolina and my brother lives in Florida now. And I have a very big family. My mom has 4 brothers and 4 sisters, and they all have kids, so I have about 20 cousins. And they're very hard to keep track of because most of them are much younger than me, and I feel like I have a new cousin every other week. Where were my ancestors before they moved to America? I don't really know, but just from an educated guess from things that I've heard from grandparents would be Germany and perhaps Scotland and Scandinavia. Any generational customs and traditions? Nothing really rings a bell other than kind of typical American holidays and things like that, Christmas. Nothing particularly special comes to mind. So let's move on. Yes. So thinking of the things that make up the puzzle of my life, the first thing that I think about is the many places that I have lived. So I spent the first 25 years of my life in America, and these states marked in red on the map here are the places that I lived. So I lived in New York, Indiana, Kentucky, Florida, and Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia is where I lived last before I moved. So I think moving around a lot really shaped who I am. I was always the new kid. I was almost never in a school for more than a year or 2, with the exception being high school, where I was in the same school from being a sophomore until I graduated as a senior. So lots of moving. Even within those states, we would move to different towns and places. So lots of moving, always the new kid. And then after I served with City Year for a year, I decided to move abroad. I moved to South Korea, where I lived for 3 years, and that, of course, has had a huge impact on my life. It helped me to grow significantly and substantially as a person, and to have opportunities and experience things that I just never could have even dreamed or possibly imagined in life. And now I live, as I mentioned before, I live in China. Only been here for a few months now, but it is the next step on the path, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this path leads and where the journey goes in the future. So definitely moving around a lot, experiencing all these different people and places has had a big influence on who I am. The next thing that had a very big impact in the puzzle pieces of my life, that grand picture that those pieces make up, is City Year. So before I worked for City Year, I had graduated with a degree in environmental science, and I was working at a co-op in Philadelphia, and I'd always wanted to teach, didn't really see the path there, and came across this nonprofit called City Year, an AmeriCorps program, and when I joined, I ended up spending a year with some of the most wonderful people I have ever met, an incredibly diverse group, and I served in a school that was very different from what my high school experience was like, and it was really eye-opening, and it was definitely life-changing and set me on the path that led me to where I am today. Oh yes, this picture on the left, we had a water balloon fight. That's why it looks like I have peed myself. So I still talk to some of these people, and many of them have also gone on to become teachers, and they were a very important part of my life. The next thing is, of course, as a teacher, something that has a huge influence on your life as a teacher are your students. So these are students, some of my students from each place that I have had the privilege of teaching. So starting on the left, these were some of my students in Philadelphia. And when I worked with them, that's when I really had my first exposure to working with students who didn't speak English as a first language. A lot of students, including those in this picture, spoke Spanish as a first language, and often they would express their frustration with not feeling like they weren't able to really express themselves in either language because they spoke one language at home and one language at school, and it was such a mix, and that was really an interesting thing to consider and experience, and again, something that pushed me towards this path today. Down at the bottom, we have some of my students in Korea. So I worked in this school for a few years, and I mostly worked with younger kids there. So that also was a great experience to work with children and to work in Korea and see what it's like to really be fully immersed in a totally different culture where they don't share your language or anything, and to be able to bridge the gap and build relationships with my students and feel very connected and make them feel connected and comfortable. And they were a very important part of my life. And now here on the right, these are some of my students that I have here in China. And it's really been a great experience to begin to teach at a university and experience working with older kids who, I don't have to worry about their behavior so much, and to be learning about what life is like in China and what things are actually really like here. And so my students, all of them in so many ways have shaped my perspective. They've changed my viewpoints. They've made me think about things differently and realize when I was wrong about things, and just reaffirmed other thoughts and opinions. And I still keep in contact with many of them, and I always can't wait to meet, as many students as I can in the future. And I really look forward to that. So the next thing that has really shaped my life is travel. So I think it's something that I wish that, I never thought it would be a part of my life. I grew up in a kind of a poorer family. My mom was a single mother raising my brother and I. And so, I never had been outside of the country before moving to Korea, so that was a very big life change. But since I moved to Korea, I've gone to a few different places. So here you see Cambodia, China, Vietnam, and of course Korea. And again, it's something that I wish everyone could do, and it reminds me of a quote. It's something like, the essence of it is that no one can hold on to prejudice after they travel. Once you go and you actually see places and meet people, you kind of realize that people are the same everywhere. Maybe our cultures are different and things like that, but most people in the world are just good people trying to live their lives. And it's something that I want to continue to do, and I have a big list of places that I want to go, and I hope that I get to see them and continue to meet and interact with people in different parts of the world and really learn firsthand instead of reading about it or making assumptions of my own. And then, of course, my family. So here on the left, that's my husband. We got married this year. He's also in this class. We're both working on our masters right now because we are both English teachers and we want to continue on this path and kind of base our lives around this career. So of course, the impact that our relationship has had in my life, we met when we were in high school, and the impact of that has been inexpressible, from us developing together as people to making large decisions to move to other countries and all these things. Of course, that has been a very big puzzle piece in my life. In the middle, that's my mom and my brother. So these are the people that I grew up with. I do have two half-brothers, but I didn't meet my biological father and my brothers until I was about 20 years old. So that's my mom and my brother, and my mom is a very strong woman, and she helped me to value hard work and not making excuses for yourself and things like that. And my brother has turned out to be a wonderful friend, and I just couldn't imagine having a better brother. And on the right, these are just some of my other family members. It's my aunt Carol, my uncle Mark, and my two of my cousins, Hannah and Rachel. So they're closer to me in age, those cousins, and I still lived in New York when they were born. And my Aunt Carol was like a second mom to me, and she played a big role in helping me to cultivate and value traits like kindness and empathy and compassion. So these people in this slide have probably shaped who I am more than anyone else. So that is enough blabbing on about me. I can't wait to watch the rest of your videos and hear about your cultures and your life experiences and backgrounds and hobbies and interests and all those things. I'm looking forward to reading more of the things that you all come up with. And even though it's a short class, I hope that we get to know each other. Oh, okay. Thank you.